take, really. We could argue, I think, BA.
Welcome to Buckets! Coming to you from the Tommy John Home Studios. My name's Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network. I'm joined by two OGs from Buckets. I got Sean Little at Chicago Flow on Twitter and the Action Network app at MSG Networks. He's doing pre and post game stuff for the NBA as well during these playoffs. Go follow him over there. He's rocking the logo hat, which is like the version of the shield for the NBA. I don't know. That's like it needs to be better than the Jerry. That does not sound right appropriately. Also joining me, senior NBA futures analyst Brandon Anderson at Wheaton Brando, who is a ray of sunshine today from the Tommy John Home Studios after the Oklahoma City Thunder lose Game 1 outright, 111-110 of the Indiana Pacers, and Tyrese Clutch God Halliburton steals the game in an incredible contest that I think was just like what a phenomenal sporting event. It was so much fun. Like that late I lost everything. I am coming to you from Brokeville is what I said last night on our live show. It's the Tommy John Home Studios here in Brokeville. We will talk about any number of things today on the show. We will talk about kind of the series look. We will look at the market and how it's evolved since we talked to you last night, which there's been some interesting movement there. We will give best bets for game 2, or Sean and Brandon will give best bets for game 2, and I will cower in the back and be like, please help me, because I am lost after that outcome in game 1. And I'm really trying to figure out, usually I'm of about 6 minds. I'm of like 12 minds today. I am just all over the place. I'm basically that guy from the movie Split is where I'm at today on this series. All that more. Everything we talk about can be found in the award-winning Action Network app. Best way for you to track your picks. You get up to the second information where the bets and the money are coming in. You can track with our pro subscription. You can see stuff like, oh, hey, the money's on this side, but the sharp action's on the other, and that's why this line is moved. It helps you understand why markets have moved the way that they have. We've got our WNBA projections in there. Our live shows go in there pre-game, before every game. You're going to want to download the Action Network app. If you're watching us today live at youtube.com/the Action Network, I work so hard for you all. And yes, I'm wrong almost 100% of the time. But think of how hard I work. And please give me a like and subscribe on our channel. It really helps these videos. Help share if you enjoy the shows and you enjoy these things, let us know. If you're in the chat and you do have bets for game 2, I want to hear them, because honestly, I need help coming up with what I'm going to bet in this game. So if you could put those into the chat, and we'll talk about them later and get the guys' reaction to it on today's show. We will do an underdog lineup today. We will do a parlay for you as well. Lots of stuff coming up on today's show. All right, my first bullet point for this game is, that happened. We can kind of get into with hindsight, because I've obviously done a lot more research. I went back and rewatched the game twice. I've done, kind of taken a lot of notes on various X's and O's things. Sean Little, let's start with you though. What was your big takeaway from game 1?
I was shocked that they didn't turn the turnovers into as many points as they probably should have. And watching the first half, it was everything I expected from the Oklahoma City Thunder, but the game was yet to be put away. If you know the Oklahoma City Thunder, and I've been watching the Oklahoma City Thunder all year, they typically bury teams. They turn them over, and then they bury them, and then the game is over. In that game, they bounced back against Denver. I'm going to talk quite a bit about that game too. They're up 24 points at the end of the first quarter. It never felt like that here in this game. They turned them over. They did a lot of the things they wanted to do, but couldn't turn those turnovers into points. I was extremely impressed with the Pacers' defense and how they were able to deal with that offensive unit for the Thunder. I didn't put enough onus on coming into the series, into game 1, that probably the weakest unit of the 4 was the Thunder offense. I didn't think about that enough. I know my guy Lou Dort showed up and he did his thing and contributed offensively, but I didn't. Jalen Williams had a lot of games, J-Dub, that he struggled throughout this playoffs. He's had a lot of good games as well. Yep. I didn't put enough onus that the Pacers defensively would be able to deal and essentially shut down, holding them to under 40% from the floor. Also in the second half, shot it really poorly from three. So I didn't put I didn't show enough respect and love to the Pacers defense on what they'd be able to do with the Thunder offense. And I just thought, no matter what, if they turned over the Pacers, they were going to turn them into points, and they just didn't do that.
A lot of interesting stuff there, I think, because Brandon and I had a very. I want to go back to that after we get Brandon's thoughts, because Brandon and I had a lot of a really interesting conversation on the preview, talking about like what are the best units. We usually do that. It's like best unit is the offense, the defense. Like the OKC the unit in this series is still the best. It's still the OKC defense. It still is. Now, okay, Indiana's solve for a lot of that stuff I thought was really interesting, and we'll talk about that as well. The middle of this is where it gets interesting, right? It's OKC offense, Pacers offense, Pacers defense, and Pacers offense is obviously, I think, has to go second, and then it's Thunder offense, Pacers defense, and I think that battle between Thunder offense and Pacers defense is going to decide the result of the series, how long it goes. Like that's going to be a huge determining factor, because in game one, I think you can argue that the OKC defense, at least in the first half, and really, I'll honestly say, like in the second half, like I think that their defensive process was really good. And the Pacers did what they do, which is they take what you give them and they made shots. Like I tried to say this about the 3-point rate, which is like the Pacers' overall 3-point rate is more indicative of teams in the regular season would give them layups, so they took layups. And teams in the playoffs are giving them threes, so they take threes. Brandon Anderson, as I wince and grimace before asking you this, what's your takeaway from game one?
I think the Thunder are fine. I think the Thunder are fine. I don't think they need to worry about too much. I think the Pacers had virtually everything go their way. They had a wild shot variance game go their direction, both for them and against Oklahoma City. They had unbelievable shot making the entire fourth quarter for like the last 10 minutes of the game, straight down the stretch. The Thunder did a lot of things they should feel good about. Obviously, you're not going to expect 25 turnovers from the Pacers every game. So that's an outlier in the other direction as well. But yeah, I feel like basketball is basketball. It's a make or miss league. And the Pacers made a whole bunch in a row. And the Thunder should feel very good about their defense. Very clearly the best unit on the court. Thunder's offense definitely disappointed. Shot horrendously on twos against a defense that is not good against twos. I'm not giving Indiana credit for that. I'm just saying that that's missed shots by Chet, by J-Dub, because that's how 2-point% defense goes.
They contested all those. We
have 90 games of data telling us that Indiana is not a good 2-point defense. One game of Oklahoma City being elite at that and then missing shots does not change that for me. If we get more games of that, then I will adjust accordingly. For right now, I feel like the thing we knew best about Oklahoma City's offense was that they were going to shred on twos, and they had their worst 2-point game of the season. And Indiana made a ton of desperation threes down the stretch that were not good looks, but from not good shooters that went in. And all of those things happened, and the Pacers won by 1 at the buzzer. And I think the Thunder should feel just fine.
What were the bad shooters that made all these threes?
Obi Toppin, Miles Turner, Nembhard on a step back three, Miles Turner on a sidestep, fadeaway, corner banked three. Like, okay, well, let me read to you from, 94-79 with 9:42 left. Here are the next 6 possessions for the Pacers. Andrew Nembhard, physical and 1 into Lou Dort. Incredible defender, Lou Dort's chest, and 1 3-point play. Andrew Nembhard. Okay, cool. Next time. Obi Toppin, contested above the break 3, his 4th of the game. Another 3-point play.
Open. That was not contested. That was open. He was open on that shot.
Contested. I watched these. This is from my eyes watching the game. There's contest on it. Next possession, Nembhard missed a layup. So we got a blank here. Next possession, Miles Turner, tightly contested corner 3 in. Next possession, Nesmith dribbles into 3 defenders into the paint, somehow accidentally kicks it out to Obi Toppin above the break. Another 3, his 5th of the game, which I didn't even look it up. I guarantee you it's a career high. Miles Turner, next possession, sidestep, banked in, corner 3 off of his own offensive rebound. 15-4 run in 3.5 minutes. 15 points in 6 possessions with a missed possession in there. That, like, Oklahoma City will live with every single one of those shots, and sometimes they go in. And I don't think this team is going to panic. You're going to want them to panic. You're going to want changes. I don't think they're going to. That's not what Daignault and what the team has done. I think they're going to be fine with that process. We know about the stuff down the stretch. Chet misses a layup literally at the rim. Jada misses a layup literally at the rim. We got a Neesmith contested by Caruso corner three that goes in. We got the Nembhard step back three. Shea misses the shot from 14. That would have put him up 3 with 10 seconds left or whatever.
Yeah.
Hallie hits the shot. Great. That's all basketball. You got to make your shots. All that stuff had to happen for it to go a 1-point game. I think they should be fine with it.
Yeah, and BA
39.6% from Miles Turner in the regular season on threes. Obi Toppin 36.5% in the regular season on threes. Those are quality shooters that got good looks. The Nembhard one I will give you. They did absolutely have that one. The Nembhard one where he absolutely had to regain the ball and then kick it out to Obi was hilarious, but that was a good look for Obi. Sean, what were you saying?
Yeah, I mean, I think Miles Turner's a quality shooter. Obi Toppin is a little too spotty for my liking. So, yeah, I mean, if he hits 5 threes, you're probably just going to have to shrug your shoulders and take the L. I just wanted to add another play to what BA just laid out. And then the one time in that whole sequence that Brandon just laid out, they get a pretty easy stop. They have absolutely nothing going, the Pacers. Nembhard shoots a 3, and it's an air ball, and it lands right in Siakam's hands, and he lays it up. So the ball hits the rim of any sort. It's probably a rebound. Oklahoma City, they get back. I mean, obviously, you never know what's going to happen. But for them to get a lockdown stop, it turns into a terrible step back 3. That's an air ball, and Siakam grabs it and lays it up.
Why does Siakam grab it?
Well, I mean, he's crashing the ball. I mean, he was right where he was supposed to be.
It was 2 feet short.
Yeah.
No. Why does Siakam grab it? Because he was mashed
Oklahoma
up
City played good defense and forced a
really
bad
good.
shot, and it was 2 feet short.
Shush, because Siakam was mashed up on a smaller guy because Dags went into galaxy brain mode. Dags lost this game for the Thunder. Cason Wallace, minus 13. Plus 2 in the first quarter. Is that enough? With the turnover rate? Is that enough? No, it's not. Like, the best front court in this game was the Indiana Pacers. If that's the case, OKC's in legitimate trouble. All the confidence in the world in the single big and Chet Holmgren got absolutely annihilated in this game. I'm really curious to see what happens in game 2 and how they're going to react with Chet here. As far as like the opportunities on the table, like this is one thing I go back and forth on this, right? Because when they're up at the half, everybody's like, well, look, 25 to 20 turnovers or whatever. But they didn't get points off of them. Off of live ball transition opportunities, off of turnovers, they averaged a 6.36 points per possession mark. And like the whole thing in the series was like, oh man, the OKC is going to kill them in the margins. They didn't kill them in the margins. Like you look at this box score, Brandon, and I will say like, it's not as encouraging as I expected it to be for OKC. I expected it to be like, wow, they just killed them. And then stuff happened. And instead it's like points in the paint, Thunder by 12. Okay. So like they missed a bunch in from 2-point range. Pacers obviously shot way more threes. Second chance points, Pacers 12, Thunder 11. Fast break points, Thunder 11, Pacers 10. Even off of all those turnovers. And this is the killer. 25 turnovers, 11 points off of turnovers. And like I go back and forth on this because one thing I've wondered with Dean Oliver and the 4-factor stuff is would Dean have gotten to where he did on 4 factors if we had the actual scoring percentages off of those situations for him to evaluate? Because when he was doing this work, all we had was turnovers and rebound rate. You didn't have the actual tracked box information for second chance points off of turnovers to evaluate that one end to the other aspect, right? Like if you generate a ton of offensive rebounds, but you don't score on them, what have you done? Have you actually generated anything meaningful? Probably not. You've taken time off, and you've given yourself another opportunity. But if it's not efficient, there's a real drag on that. And that's what I think is interesting about this game is like, And I don't know if it's sustainable. I'm not saying it is. Like, if you were like, squirt gun to your head, you got to pick a team who's going to win the series, I'd be like, it's probably the Thunder. I'm pretty shook on a lot of things off of this game, and I know it was a 1-point game, and I know they were up 15. But when I look at the overall process of this game, I actually find more to be concerned about with Indiana based off of these numbers, like their transition opportunities, how those scores worked out, the kind of shots that Indiana got. And a lot of this is just like the Pacers came into the series as the best effective field goal percentage team in the playoffs. They're shooting the lights out right now. And you're right. Like, over the course of 100 games, Brandon, I'm with you. But like, you got to win this series right now with where Indiana is right now. And like Blake said it in here, and I think this is simplistic, but it does get at the point. The Pacers are shot making kings. That's what they do. This was part of Jim Turvey's thing too. Is like they do make these shots. They do have high quality shooters. You can at least understand that perspective, right, Brandon?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I definitely understand it. I just think that it's not process oriented, and I am a process oriented person, not a results oriented person. So, and frankly, I think that we've been shown very clearly. Obviously, this is a very clear throwback to Brandon's take after Boston, New York game 1, and we know how that went. It did not go my direction. Both Boston and Oklahoma City, I think more than any teams in the league, are process oriented, not results oriented. Much to the chagrin of most people in the media who are like, make all the adjustments, change all the things, stop shooting the threes, do all the other stuff. And they're like, no, we're the best because we're the best of the stuff that we do. And it's probably going to go our direction over time. Sometimes it doesn't. And, you know, Boston is not in the finals for that reason. But I think to your point of, okay, they caused all the turnovers, but they didn't score off of them. That's, to me, is encouraging for Oklahoma City and not discouraging for Oklahoma City. In the first half, the Thunder were 13 of 36 on twos, 36%. They're 10 of 27 in the paint, 37%. They had a 5th percentile EFG in the first half. That's not repeatable. That is an outlier. So if you're going to keep getting some of the turnovers, which I understand part of getting the turnovers is an outlier the other direction, I got it. But forcing turnovers, but not scoring off of them, you still got more shots up. Oklahoma City got 16 more shots up in this game. I would push back on the offensive rebound thing. Same thing. It's not really relevant in this series. Yeah, I always want more possessions. I always want more. My offense might suck. Maybe I'm going to lose the possession and not get points out of it anyway, but I still rather have the ball than let you have the ball. That's how basketball works. Like the process of getting more possessions and more math, maybe the math equation isn't quite right. Maybe we need to adjust. You know, obviously, since Dean Oliver's 4-factor stuff came out, the 3-point revolution has pushed a lot in that direction. So I think that the way things have gone, like shot percentage wise, we need to adjust. But here's some shot percentage things from that game. Indiana, 48% 3-point attempt rate. That's interesting to me. That's high. That's not typical Pacers basketball. That is typical Thunder defensive basketball. It's also the same percentage of threes the Pacers got up their last game against the Thunder in the regular season. Okay, that does give me a little pause. I don't love that. I don't love you getting half your shots up from 3, because guess what? You might make half of them like you did this game, and now that's problematic. So I don't love that as a Thunder bettor. Oklahoma City, their worst 2-point percent of the season, their worst 2-point performance this season, 28 of 68 for the game. 40 misses is their most of the season. Their most in the regular season was 36. So 4 additional misses than they ever had in any game over 82 in the season. 45% EFG, ties for their lowest mark of the entire regular season. Now, here's the thing that's interesting. They have been lower on both of those stats I just said in the postseason, both in game 1 against Denver. The exact carbon copy of the game we just watched, where it was like, oh, the Thunder are leading. The Thunder are in control. They're up 6, 8, 10, 12. We're just waiting for them to pull away. We said that on a Slack last night. You're going to hit some shots at some point. They'll pull away. They didn't pull away. And then Indiana came back. And then that series pushed out to 7, and they could have lost the series. So maybe that's the direction we go here. But it's a very similar thing to where in the end, we saw very clearly who was the better team in that series. Wide open threes. Both teams had 20 and 22, so about the same. Indy was 11 of 22, 50%. Oklahoma City was 6 of 20, 30%. That's like a 15-point swing on just make or miss threes. And okay, is Indiana's shooters probably slightly better? And the way that they've been playing, sure, I'll give them some credit for that. So maybe that's a 12-point swing. It's a 1-point game. Like that still has to come in predictable data. Mike, is it Mike Bowie that has the unpredictable? Is that how you say his name? So he had turnover percentage. He did like the 4 factors chart. Turnover percentage added, I think 41% of win probability to the Thunder, but it was offset because Indiana added 106% of win probability on just EFG last night. They had an outlier elite shooting game against this defense, 59 EFG, and Oklahoma City's 45 EFG, tied for their worst of the season. Indiana added over 100% of win probability on shot making. And shot making is variant, and Oklahoma City's defense is going to make you earn it. They made them earn it, and they earned it, and they got the win, and they get credit. All that matters is, like Tyree said at the end of the game, we got one. They're only 3 away. They do this 3 more times, and it doesn't matter what stats I quote, they'll be the champions. But as a bettor, I have to look at the underlying stuff, and I still feel pretty good about Oklahoma City.
Yeah, I think just basically going off of they can't shoot that well is probably a pretty. I can't argue with that. Again, shout out to the villain, Fred VanVleet, for ruining my life in 2015. I think this is notable, Brandon. OKC in transition last night via cleaning the glass. Like, this is actually, I think, a significant. This is probably something to seriously consider going forward. OKC in transition was minus 4.5 in transition plus minus. What this does is it takes how your scoring rate, your points per possession mark in transition for the game, and it evaluates it versus an average half-court possession across the playoffs. So OKC was minus 4.5, 5th percentile. This is where I want to give the Pacers credit. They legit, like, I think for you, you're just like, no, the Thunder just missed. And I'm like, no, the Thunder legitimately did the work. And a lot of this, honestly, when I went back and watched, because they went small, this is what I think was fascinating by Carlisle. They went small, which should spread your defense out because they have to guard the perimeter. And the Pacers were like, no. If J-Dub's driving against Miles Turner in drop coverage. If Chet Holmgren's driving, Chet's driving against Miles Turner in drive coverage. And like, I've been saying this for years. People really do forget, like, Miles Turner used to be a DPOY candidate. That's how good Miles was defensively. And Miles still has that gear, and he's showing it in these playoffs. Sean, I want to get your thoughts on the lineup change to start the game. And to me, it's less about the starting as it is about the finishing and the overall game flow. Hartenstein was great in this game. Chet was terrible, and the big lineup didn't work nearly as well. What are your thoughts on Dags and his moves in this game?
Yeah, I think it was extremely interesting because coming in, big favorite, big dog on campus, 80 wins. You're the toast of the NBA at the moment. And then you come in switching things up. Now, could it have been the right call pregame? I think for how much success they've had overall, I thought it was funny that Dagnall came out and said, yeah, I mean, we've been pretty fluid with the starting lineup. Case and Wallace got a lot of starts. And it was like, I think a lot of that was injury decided, and Kaysen's the next guy up, so he got a lot of starts. Dagnall tried to make it seem that, oh, yeah, some days I wake up and start Kaysen Wallace, other days I wake up and start Isaiah Hartenstein or I start Chet. Like, that's not the case, right? This was a clear indication that he felt at the time more comfortable with Kaysen Wallace getting more minutes than Isaiah Hartenstein. I think the message it sent was a little bit that, at least to me, was that they're a little unsure of themselves coming into the start of this series. Why? I'm not exactly sure. To go back to some of the things that Brandon laid out, the more I thought about it, it's funny to say, I guess after everything Brandon laid out and after everything I watched, and I'm thinking about it last night and this morning, maybe this like legit maybe just be characterized as like an overall bad Oklahoma City Thunder game, even though they caused 25 turnovers. 19 of them are in the first half. It's a completely different, from first half to second half, completely different game. You laid out when we were talking before we hopped on, Matt Moore, 3 to almost 4 boneheaded plays that Alex Caruso never ever makes in games. You can, I think the fourth play you can add was the charge. When he was going to the basket, I on the 3-on-1, I was like, is he gonna like what is he trying to do in this instance, right? He ends up taking the charge, but there's a lot of plays that Alex Caruso made that he doesn't typically make. The overall, I would have loved to see the start of the game with Isaiah Hartenstein out there and see how it went at the start rather than scrambling a little bit and then trying to backfill on the fly, because now you've gone out of your normal rotation that you've had all playoffs, and now you're almost trying to decipher what moves to make on the fly, and that just wasn't necessary. But, Matt, I'm also glad that you brought this up, and I'm glad you talked about Dagnall and his changes, because you tweeted out Dagnall got a little too cute in this game. And I want to share with the people, because me and these fine fellas and myself share a group chat.
Yep.
I texted in the group chat, I believe it's the second quarter, and I say, AJ Mitchell getting minutes for what reason? Question mark. I don't understand. He barely played the entire playoffs. He got some dust-up minutes. Matt Moore replies, because eventually he'll be a rotation player in the finals. And then the next message was, because they can. I said, in this finals, or are you talking about next year? Next year or 2 years from now? I said, if that's the reasoning, it's silly. There's no need for him to get minutes. Matt Moore goes on to tell me how much he can play. He's a good player. Sure. Yeah, pull it up. Not right now. There's no need. I mean, he could play. He's good, says Matt Moore. I said, come on, Matt, 10th best player on the team. Not sure he played in the first half all playoffs. I don't know why he's getting run in the first half of the finals. So then Matt gave up, and he goes, okay, yeah, bad move. Shouldn't have played him. And then I sarcastically responded, thank you, well said. So I think that all falls into this stuff that Dagnall was trying. And funny enough, Matt Moore says, because he can, maybe he got a little arrogant. Maybe he thought, no matter what I try here, it's going to work. We'll be able to take care of business at home, and we'll solve for whatever problem that comes up on the fly. And as that pressure started to ratchet up down the stretch, that just wasn't the case. I think he did get a little too cute, Mark Dagnall. It was unnecessary to make the changes that he did. And I think it was flat out a little disrespectful to Isaiah Hartenstein, who has been really good
Yeah, I agree.
all year long.
Yeah, I agree. And Hartenstein's comments about it after the game were like, it's cool. I just want to win. It's whatever. Like, but you could tell that it wasn't like, no, it was the right move. Like, you could tell that Hartenstein was a little bit like, right. I mean, okay. Yeah. And so Rylan Stiles, who does Locked On Thunder, and I think Brandon would like his pod a lot. He was talking about how, like, you know, this is just Dag staying true to who he is. And I am kind of the mindset where I'm kind of like, you can stay true to who you are without going this far. There was a lot of hubris, I thought, in this strategy here. They treated Miles Turner the way that Brandon talked about him, as opposed to like who Miles in this game. Like they treat, or comparatively, they treated Miles Turner the way that Brandon thinks of Lou Dort. That is like how that conversation kind of went. And I thought that like they really were not concerned about the Thunder or about the Pacers front court at all. They had Lou late in this game when they go without a center. This was like a crucial part of the comeback. Lou's having to guard Pascal, which means that Lou's not guarding Halliburton. And you're like, well, it wasn't really Halliburton, it was Nembhard. Okay, but Hallie's still initiating these sequences, and that increases the risk, your ability to get them deeper in the clock. It risks it's your ability to turn them over, and you're setting up Pascal in situations where he can get offensive rebounds off of air balls and put them back, versus having a big in there to actually combat him. Like they were I just thought that going this small was not the right strategy versus this team. Brandon, I want to get your thoughts on on the Dag stuff. We're gonna do best bets here in a second on the Dag stuff, and then also your thoughts on Chet Holmgren in this matchup going forward.
Yeah, I thought Diggs was terrible for all the reasons you said. I basically agree with all that. AJ Mitchell, the context missing, Sean, from the beginning of the chat to the end when Matt conceded the point. I don't think you convinced him. I think AJ convinced him. He got 3 shots up in 4 minutes and missed them all. I was like, okay, get him out of here. Isaiah Joe, 11 minutes? Why? Why are you playing Isaiah Joe 11 minutes? Kenrich Williams, 1 minute. Why? We thought if you're going to go small, that's the small ball center. Okay, where is he? Chet and iHeart combine to play 41 minutes. If you're not going to play iHeart, and frankly, some of us like in the Slack, when they say, oh, iHeart is benched, we're like, oh man, OKC is going for their throat. They're coming for the kill, because that was the thing before the series. That's one of the things about game 1 that I'm taking most away from is I think that my read on this is a series to get away from iHeart. By what we've seen, I think that looks wrong. I think that did not play out for them. Not just the size on the glass. I'm less worried about that. I'll talk about that in a second. I think they missed iHeart offensively. I think they missed his screens. Yeah. I think they missed his passing. Yeah. I thought Oklahoma City's passing was not great in this game. Kaysen Wallace, there was too much Kaysen and Caruso for good offensive process. Too much Kaysen and Caruso for game 1 of the finals. I know that sounds crazy compared to iHeart, but iHeart is a good passer and a good part of the process. Chet was horrendous last night. No way around it. We talked about it. I talked about him as a huge X factor in the series, and I think that they bet on Chet to be what I was hoping he would be in this game. That's why they had him start at center, which was space out Indiana, pull Turner away from the hoop, do the thing that we wanted. Well, guess what? It didn't work. It did not work at all because Chet took 1-3. Chet's not shooting or getting shots up. So Miles didn't leave the paint. Miles did. The thing that you're starting Chet and going small for is to try to clear the paint out for Shea. It didn't work. They're not falling for it. So you have to adjust after that then, because 41 minutes, look, you normally start Chet and iHeart. You don't play them 41 together. But to go from starting 2 bigs to under, like, that means at least 7 minutes of no Chet or iHeart on the court when you are not playing well with the big men. I will say there's a lot of talk about, oh, they smashed on the glass. Indiana, 56 rebounds to 39. That looks terrible. It looks terrible because Oklahoma City missed 10 million shots, and you rebound defensively. Neither of these teams gets offensive rebounds much. Indy was +3. Matt, you said second chance, and Indy was like +1 in points. By the unpredictable thing I read earlier, rebounds were basically a wash. I know that seems crazy when Indy is +17. They got more rebounds because they made their shots, and Oklahoma City missed a billion of them. I think from a prop standpoint, that leaves things interesting. Like, you can invest in rebounds accordingly. Oklahoma City is going to get more rebounds going forward because Indiana will miss some shots, and Indiana will never get this many rebounds the rest of the finals because Oklahoma City is not going to get 16 more shots than Indiana again, and they're not going to miss 42s and whatever, where you miss a 2, you just drove into the trees, missed a shot, and now there's 3 other dudes just standing there to gobble up your layup, and no other offensive guys can an offensive rebounder. So I don't think personally that rebounding was really the problem. The problem was we saw it right away in the first quarter. Kaysen Wallace, the guy starting for iHeart, gets switched on to Siakam, and Siakam's like, oh, food, bucket. Like right away, first 10 points. I think Siakam had 2 buckets on Kaysen because he's like, hey, remember how I'm like an all-NBA caliber player and you're putting a sophomore bench player on me in the NBA Finals to start out the game? I'm going to score now. Sorry. There are still ways to do this. So I don't want to go so far to say, okay, so back to iHeart for 30 minutes a game. If we felt that way, then there'd be a lot of great bets for us to invest in. I do think that we can kind of approach that direction. And Sean and I both have bets on iHeart. I don't think we necessarily say, okay, they're gonna ditch it and go back to the starting lineup. They might. I think that they should. I don't think that they will, because that's not what Mark Daigneault does. I think that they're going to need a little bit more. Maybe you start Kaysen and then make a switch coming out of halftime. That's a thing that happened the other direction with iHeart last round. Chet has to play better, unquestionably. You asked about what do we think about Chet? I think Chet should not go 2 for 8 on twos. Let's start there. How about that? How about your 7-footer doesn't go 2 for 8 on twos? How about you don't miss a finger roll layup at the rim uncontested? How about play like you did against the Timberwolves last round, where you play a little slower and under control, you don't rush things so much, you make a defensive impact. He was really bad in this game. There was a lot of talk of like, well, why'd Chet only get 24 minutes and why'd they only get 41? Well, maybe Chet got 24 minutes because he sucked. Like, Chet was so bad. Maybe he got no minutes because he was unplayable yesterday. Maybe it's just that. Maybe they had to play small because Chet couldn't play.
Go ahead, Sean.
And I think it's clear that Daigneault trusted Chet to be a lot better because he was okay with starting Kaysen Wallace. I mean, I think that was the clear direction that, okay, I have enough confidence in Chet that he's ready to go. He'll be impactful in this matchup because we know the NBA is all about matchups, and he'll be ready. He was awful, and it affected the Kaysen Wallace change. The Kaysen Wallace change. I'll say this. Why the fuck did the Thunder add Isaiah Hartenstein? Because they were not big enough inside. They were not impactful enough down there. That's why they went and got him. We make it to the finals. The Pacers, a team all year long, has had issues with size, down low on the block, and he doesn't get the minutes that he's been getting. It's almost like we've made it. This is exactly where we want to be. We're versatile enough where we have enough perimeter players that will impact, and we have enough size inside that a team has to account for both. And then you remove the guy you went and paid all the money for and has played, and it wasn't merit-based. He has been impactful. So I thought it was a lot of overthinking by Daigneault. I would be shocked if he didn't go back in his building to Isaiah Hartenstein in the starting lineup. We'll see how he feels and what shakes, but it just seems like we addressed the hole. We added the perfect guy, and Brandon Anderson is right. And just so I could needle Brandon some more, let's talk about the Knicks. When Isaiah Hartenstein was off the floor, they had a really hard time playmaking on offense. Brunson loved to deal with Isaiah Hartenstein screens. He loved it. He couldn't get enough of playing off of Isaiah Hartenstein, and that floater is very impactful. He has that down. And if you notice, it gets better as he gets into the game offensively. He gets more locked in on that end. You saw the little floater he took. It was an air ball coming off the dunker spot on, I want to say, the left side. That was like one of the only early shots that he took. He wasn't comfortable. He wasn't involved in the game, especially offensively. So we'll see what Daigneault decides to do, but it seemed pretty clear. You had confidence that Chet would be able to get it done. He did not. That's why you include Kaysen Wallace in the lineup, and then Isaiah Hartenstein, the guy that you went to fill this exact hole in this exact spot against a team that would have trouble against a big, while accounting for all your perimeter guys, just seemed a little. The timing seemed a little odd.
Real quick, because it's easy for the three of us. It's easy for the three of us to second guess the coach and say all the things that we would do. So let's say it. Mark Daigneault's probably watching our show right now, so let's help the guy out. You're in charge of the big man lineup. How many minutes are you playing? Assume a non-blowout. Assume a competitive game. How many minutes are you playing iHeart next game, and how many minutes are you playing Chet? I'll answer 2. Sean, you're up. How many minutes for each big guy?
I mean, I think iHeart has to go back to his regular rotation of minutes, 30, 32 minutes. He's a lob threat as well. I think that opens up things, even if it's subconsciously. I think you just go back to what got you there. Give me the regular rotation of minutes. Kaysen Wallace was very impactful. It was, I just didn't understand. Yeah, I would just go back to the regular rotation and see how that checks.
For me, this is it is less about the minutes, and I think it's about the rotation flow. And the reason I say this is iHeart actually was really terrible to start that fourth quarter. in the minutes against the Pacers bench. Like, that was a bad stretch for them. It's one of the reasons that opened the door. They pushed out to 15, and then iHeart was part of the reason why it went back towards 7. If you start, if you could, I would honestly bring Chet off the bench. It's not about me not liking Chet. Chet's amazing. I love the matchup of Chet on Obi Toppin. That's awesome. That's great. That's killer. Yes. Chet can close on him. He can contest the drives. He can battle him at the rim. You can play off of him a little bit, and Chet can still recover. Like, all of that to me makes a lot of sense. And so what they did instead was, like, they got iHeart, who's slower, more plotting, and is going to play off, versus the small ball unit for the Pacers. And it's like you're counter programming. No. Like, play your strength, your size versus their size, and then play your athleticism versus their athleticism. That's, to me, it's the flow more than it is the minutes. What I would not do is this no center approach that they went to. What are you doing? And also, by the way, if you're gonna do it, which I don't think you should, but if you're gonna do it, how do you go to a no center lineup and you don't play Kenrich Williams, who literally was like making waves and headlines as the best small ball center in the league? How do you not get there? It was a baffling series of decisions. Brandon, what's your thought?
Yeah, I think I'd be somewhere probably in the middle of those. But I think mostly what you said, Matt, like getting the rotation back to what feels familiar to you. I will give credit to the fact that iHeart didn't start and they went small. Though it didn't pay off over 48, it did pay off immediately. They forced 9 turnovers right away because they had an extra dude, Kaysen, like swiping down the ball. So it did work early. It's just that it threw off the offense, I think. Didn't pay off with the turnover points, as we've talked about. And then it threw off the rotation till later on. The passing numbers, I don't look at just like number of passes often. Hallie had way more passes than usual against OKC, and Oklahoma City just had not enough passes. They had 13 assists on the entire game. It just becomes not good process for them. So I don't think I'm ready to go. I would not have a 3 in front of iHeart's minutes number. I think something mid-20s is about the right number. But the main thing is, I wanted small because I wanted to pull Turner away from the hoop. But if they're not doing that anyway, because Chet's not a real shooter anyway, then that's not a thing anymore, and you have to adjust. And I think that until Chet does what Toppin just did or Turner just did and makes 4 or 5 threes, there's no reason for Indy to adjust accordingly. So Chet has to play better, but I think also Chet will play better if iHeart is starting, and Chet gets to play not as a center, and that's going to help him too. I think it works all around.
One final note before we do best bets is on the Kaysen Wallace point. I made this point in the comment here at youtube.com/the Action Network. So they had this turnover margin. Okay, they forced all these turnovers. Kaysen was a +2 in the first quarter in that stint where he played with the starters. +2. And the problem is not, it's like you didn't lose those minutes. You did not win them nearly by enough based off of how Indiana played, because they had 5 second half turnovers. And there's got to be a middle ground between 20 first half turnovers and 5 second half turnovers. There's got to be like a middle ground in there for the average amount. You got way too many that first half for you to have only walked out of there with a +2 margin when Kaysen sat. And you were going to force those turnovers, in my opinion, anyway. Like, you have ball hawks. You're not short on those. You don't need to go small in order to do that. All right, let's actually get to some betting sides of this. We're going to talk about Underdog real quick. Underdog is one of the best places to make picks during playoff basketball. While they score buckets, you could score cash. Underdog is one of the leading sports apps, and you can play right now in your state. Their app has over 100,000 5-star reviews and millions of players. To play, all you have to do is download the app and choose whether a player will go higher or lower on one of their stats. You can choose from things like points, assists, and so much more. Once your picks feel good, you can play for as little as $1. And if you get everything right, you could win up to 1,000 times your money. We have a dog in them lineup for this one because this is a dog in them series. The Pacers have that dog in them. Nothing more underdog dogging him than the Pacers. We're gonna go iHeart, 6.5 rebounds higher. He plays more in this game. He is more impactful, and he goes higher than 6.5 rebounds. We're gonna go Siakam, 6.5 rebounds higher. I love this cap. I love this play in game one. I think Siakam's going to have a great series. He's a real threat to steal Finals MVP if the Pacers win this series, like he did the Eastern Conference Finals MVP. Lou Dort 1.5 steals, lower. And the reason I'm going in on lower on Lou is because if they're going to, let's say the Dag stays true to the process, he's going to play back, like he won't be matched up on the ball handler as much. And if they do make a change, it's probably moving him more onto Tyrese Halliburton. And we saw in game one, Halliburton's fine letting Nembhard operate. So like he's not going to force the issue with a lot of plays. And if he does guard Hallie doesn't turn the ball over that much, even in this game. So that one I like. Turner, lower 2.5 steals and blocks. Miles was great in this game, had 3 in this game, was phenomenal. He was so good. OKC is more than likely going to find ways to attack him differently. And I just think this is an outlier performance. There's a reason that his number was so low to begin with. So I'm going to go lower. Turner, 2.5 stocks. So iHeart, 6.5 rebounds, higher. Siakam, 6.5 rebounds, higher. Dort, 1.5 steals, lower. Turner, lower, 2.5 stocks. Download the Underdog app and sign up with promo code BUCKETS100 to unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. That's promo code BUCKETS100. Must be 18 plus. 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-MY or text HOPE-MY. Let's do some best bets for game 2. Let's go around the horn. We'll give our best bets, and then we'll do the cap on them. Sean Little, what do you like in game 2 of the NBA Finals?
Let's talk series first. I'm going to go Thunder minus 1.5 games at even money. They get it done in 6 or less. In game 2, SGA under 47.5 PRA minus 120. Then Isaiah Hartenstein, most rebounds in game 2, plus 390.
All right. Brandon Anderson. I'm very interested to hear this. What are your best bets for game 2?
Yeah, I'm going to go OKC series as well, a couple of ways. The Michael Fiddle special, OKC plus 2.5. All they got to do is get it past game 5, minus 1,200. It's a bad line. You can make money at any number. And Oklahoma City, game 2 and series, the combo bet. You got to actually play the parlay. You can't make it yourself. Minus 200. This will be my biggest title bet of the season on Oklahoma City, game 2 and series. That's the confidence level. I'm on iHeart as well, over 6.5 rebounds and 10 rebounds plus 320, similar to Sean's play. And we'll go back to the 6 rebounds every game at plus 450. And a couple over on turnovers, 1.5 each, Nesmith and Miles Turner. And then we'll talk about Halliburton assists and assist leader a little bit at the end. Matt, you had like trends and like market move. Do you want to start with that?
Yeah, we'll talk about that in just a second. Obi Toppin over 13.5 PRA for me, and Isaiah Joe over 4.5 points and assists in game 2. Like the little cowardly boy I am, I'm just gonna go ahead and play those props.
Daniel, Arkansas alum in the NBA Finals. Give me my Arkansas, Isaiah Joe.
Slipping out. Okay, here's some trends. One, let's talk about the market. There's been a real battle in this. So we talked about it last night on the post-game show. This open 10.5. It moved to 11.5 last night. It's back down to 10.5. So it like touched 11.5 for a second and then got bet back down. We're tracking right now in the Action Network app. 96% of the bets are on the Pacers. 96% of the money is on the Pacers, but we're tracking sharp action on OKC. That's balancing this out. That's why it's heading, like, again, this is getting bounced all around. There's a minus 10.5, but it's juiced minus 115. There's a plus 11, and you get minus 108 on it in the market. So again, this goes 9.5. It touches 11.5. We're back around 10.5. Fiddle said it wouldn't go any further. He's been right on that. No movement beyond that as it stands right now. The total, by the way, this was the other thing that we really noticed last night that was pretty fascinating. This opens 225.5, and it's only going up. 227.5 in the market, 228 in the market. 83% of the tickets are on the over, 91% of the money. I'm going to wait until this gets squeezed. If I see this move back from 228 or 227.5 back down to 227, I will go ahead and bet the under. I'm going to be on the under in game 2. I will tell you that right now. Some trends, because I wanted to see this. I was all set to be like, hey, this is not a spot to bet the Thunder after they dominated in game 1. Whoops. Game 2, after you lose game 1 as a favorite, this is in the playoffs, 75-22 straight up, 56-40, 58% against the spread, 27-16 as a favorite first half in the finals after losing game 1. I'm sorry, 27-16 in the conference finals after the first round, 27-16 as a favorite first half after losing game 1. Pacers, by the way, are 5-3 ATS first half in the playoffs on the road. They've been great in the. You want to know why? Because they've won a bunch of these road games, so they're pretty good in the first halves as well in this kind of a spot. Lots of kind of stuff I think to kind of get there. Brandon, do you have a reaction to any of those market numbers?
Yeah, I think the first half line is especially interesting. The last trend that you just said, just because from the regular season, that was a stat that Indiana was -6 net on the road in the first half. That's, I keep bringing up in our series previews, I wanted Knicks home first halves. I mentioned Thunder home first half. And I even have in my notes, I was like, well, if you want to just game 2 angle and you want to avoid the high line, maybe Thunder first half, maybe not. Maybe that's not one to do with Indiana road first halves the way that they're playing out.
Brad, who has been waiting for this for a day, wants to know, Brandon, why not the ladder play? Indy's sitting fat and sassy. They've shown they have some give up in them, as you outlined before game 1. I'm surprised that you're not on the alts again for game 2.
I first of all, we play escalators, not ladders in this household, so that's part of the reason. Second of all,
wait, that's such a great response. Well done, Brandon. Bravo.
Second of all, I am backing Oklahoma City, but I am a little bit shook, a little enough to not go crazy on it. I am annoyed at the game 1 result. I am annoyed at my hooked on bets and all the things I missed by one here and there, the shots and all that. Annoyed can be a good reason to reevaluate, or annoyed can be a reason to dig your heels in. I think I'm doing something of an in-between. I think that I feel good about Oklahoma City in the series, but I don't feel great that Dags is going to do the stuff I want him to do right away. I feel like, look, we saw Denver game 1. We saw Oklahoma City blow the game, and we all expected that would have been the spot to say, okay, Oklahoma City, escalator, play everything, play all the alts. And it didn't go well. It was an ugly game. It was like everyone missed every shot, both teams, 92-87, and it was terrifying. If you're an Oklahoma City backer in the series or for title odds or anything else, they had to really, really come through there. And I do think between the youth of this team and the stubbornness of Dagnall, which again, I think generally is a good thing. But Matt, you're right. You got to win the game in front of you. You have to win this game. You can't go down 0-2 at home. You can't do that. This is a game you got to win. But I don't think that that's just going to magically happen. And what if they don't start iHeart? And we're right about some of the stuff, but it takes them till halftime to get there. What if J-Dub and Chet are not good again, and it takes them a while to get into the flow of things? We saw that in the Denver series, where it was Shea for a while, and eventually the two teammates came around. So I feel good about 6 more games, if necessary, of the Thunder. I feel good about them over 48 minutes of game 2 eventually getting there. I no longer feel great about small sample sizing and going for alts, and I'll probably be back on it. I just need a game to show me that. And in the meantime, I'll bet the big picture stuff. I'm just not going to go too crazy on the little picture. I can't follow you. If you like Oklahoma City and you feel good, if you feel better than I do, all the trends are still there. Like all the wins by 20 and 25. I can't fault that bet. I'm just not making it for game 2.
Brad says, I was waiting all day for this, and I called it a ladder. Burned by the pro. Thanks for the solid cap. Sean,
well, Brandon, let me. Well, really quick, BA, how did you feel about the Thunder after game 1 against the Nuggets? Isn't it a very, 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 very similar situation? It's almost identical.
It is almost identical. The difference was I felt worse after that one for sure, because that was a Denver coming off of a game 7. So that was an
Right.
especially certain hammer spot for Oklahoma City. But yeah, it was a very similar thing where, like, I don't even really, this is going to sound crazy. This is like the sort of stuff that gets me mocked for my over certainty. I bet Oklahoma City -10, -20, 25, 34. The 34 was never happening. They were up by 10 most of the game, playing like balls. They played terrible for 3 quarters and were up by 10. And if at any point, rather than Miles and Obi banking in threes, if the Thunder guys do that and Dort hits 17 instead of 5, then that swings the other way. And I think we're talking about like a blowout game 1, like a different version of the fourth quarter is right there where the shots swing a little bit for 3 minutes the other direction. And suddenly it's like OKC's up 22 with 8 minutes left. So you when you bet long shots, like those are like what, 8-1, 10-1, whatever for a reason. That 8 and 10-1 was in play. It just got nowhere close. It ended up down to what I thought would be a win, but not a cover. And then it just kept going the other way and lost the win too. But I think that was in play yesterday. So if you feel like, well, it was in play and I still like Oklahoma City, shouldn't I like it again? Yeah, you probably should. You're probably better off betting it again.
If teams won when they established their biggest lead of the game, Brandon would be up like 700,000 units in these playoffs. He's had so many getting bit by these late comebacks. Sean, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so before I went into the series preview with Brandon, okay, and I had this power rated, and it was going to be Pacers +7 in game 1, and I was like, okay, I don't really want to bet Pacers, and I wasn't trying to manipulate the number to where I would feel like I could bet OKC. I was going to bet, like, even after I made the adjustment, there wasn't value on OKC. I should have bet Pacers if I was going off the power rating. But I made an adjustment. What I did was I went from a 2-point home court edge to a 4-point edge for OKC specifically, based off of OKC's dominance they only lost once in these playoffs, and their average margin of victory is 27.3. So I gave them, and off the game 1 trend, I was like, I want to incorporate this. So I gave him this bump. Now, I lost game 1, right? And I don't need to ask Brandon this, because Brandon would be like, your entire process is dumb. I don't know why you do this. But also, Brandon's going to be like, you should definitely not take any sort of one game result and make an adjustment off of it. But my temptation right now is to be like, okay, I have an outcome that shows that home court advantage, that the trends, which have consistently not been there throughout these playoffs for all teams, and in particular, the Pacers, is not present. So I went ahead and took off that. I made that change. I went back to my original number on this. Now, the original number wasn't right either, because I had it like Pacers +7, not Pacers, -1, which would be the most accurate number here, right? Am I wrong or right to have made the adjustment in the first place? And then am I wrong or right to have gone back the other way after game 1?
I think you're right to make the adjustment in the first place. I mean, guys, what we've been watching from this team all year long and then stamped in the playoffs, it's certified. And we saw it in the first half of this game. Like, this is one of the probably the only thing I disagreed with what Brandon said is, as sports bettors, you kind of, and you always say this too, you're never going to feel comfortable betting an underdog. Like, you're never going to feel comfortable going back to the escalator after it just blew up in your face.
Right.
But you kind of have to have the crystal ball and be willing to go out on a limb like Brandon usually does, and kind of put your money where your mouth is. We talked about it ad nauseum last year of how can they continue to price the Celtics like this to win the title? Yeah. I don't understand. I can't figure it out. How can they continue to price the Thunder to win the West like this when, number one, they've been by far the best team in the West by a wide margin? It's essentially the same team with more experience coming back, and there's literally coaches getting fired at the end of the year with 5 games left. Luka is in a new spot with the trade of the century. There's just all this outlier stuff pointing directly in the path of you need to take the Thunder here to win the West. It's pretty obvious, and it's mispriced. These are those situations where I think you upgrading the home court advantage is the right play and the correct number, because they've been bashing people's heads in at home. Like that's just the facts as well. So I tend to, you could peel it off a little bit depending on how nervous you are about the Indiana Pacers. Maybe you meet somewhere in the middle at like a 3-point change instead of going back to 2.5. But I think overall, there has been quite a few opportunities for the Thunder to blink. And instead of blinking, they've actually come out wide-eyed and ready to go. They lose that game 1 against the Nuggets. They come back and win by 46, 43 or 46. I can't remember the number exactly, but it's 40 plus in that game too. They scored 45 points in the first quarter. The game was done in the first 7 minutes. They then lose the next game. Miracles, all types of stuff. Another tough L for the Thunder. They come back in the next game. They're down in the 4th. They don't blink. They get the W. They come right back again in the next game. They're down 6-7 points in the 4th. They come back and get that win. They haven't blinked at any spot in the playoffs or all year long. I don't know why they would blink now, coming back home down 0-1, game 2 in their building with their superstar continuing to pour in 30-plus points per game. They could pencil that in. It's just about, I think the key to the game is SGA making sure that the rest of his guys are feeling good and ready to go, because he's clearly going to show up and do his thing. And the shot variance for the Pacers, naturally, that regression is going to come.
I will just say my gut feeling right now is to bet Pacers, both spread and money line, game 2. I don't trust that. I don't want to do that, but that is just like if you take all the betting stuff, all the trends and the models and the perspectives and like all the stuff that I've worked so really hard to build up here as far as like just institutional knowledge, right? If I remove all that stuff and I just go back to being a basketball analyst, what do you think? I'd be like, Pacers are really live in game 2. They're dangerous. They're willing to play. Like they figured out ways to limit the margins. The offensive process for OKC was poor. The offensive process for Indiana beyond the turnovers was good. The turnovers are probably going to regulate a little bit more in both halves. The points off of turnovers will regulate a little bit. I could see a lot of outcomes. I can definitely see the Thunder absolutely destroying in this game. And so like my multiplicity on outcomes right now is leaving me very much paralyzed by this. But Brandon Anderson,
let me just weigh in quickly too. One thing that makes it tricky, I think, even to the why wouldn't I play escalators? Part of it is you can only play the lines that they're giving us in front of you. So game 1 opens at like 8.5, 9 points, and the money comes in on OKC enough to get to 9.5, 10, 10.5. It's now at 11 right now. Oklahoma City loses the game, and Matt, you're saying, and I understand from your process, okay, they'll Indiana, but instead it's moving further towards Oklahoma City because it's pricing in the desperation spot, like all the reasons that we think, oh, dig in your heels and bet again, they're also priced in already into their pricing. So were it to say, okay, well, we were wrong about the 8 or 8.5, 9 open. We were wrong for it to go that way. Let's upgrade Indiana. And now it's OKC minus 6.5 or 7. Matt, you'd feel a lot differently. And you'd be like, I got to bet Oklahoma City here. I don't feel great about it because they just lost, but I have to bet the Thunder and trust that they're going to find some answers. Like it's the number and the fact that the Thunder just lost and we saw a lot of things to worry about them. And they were clearly overpriced on the plus 10 or whatever it was on how the game played out anyway. And the line moved further in their direction. Yeah, that's why it's going to be hard to play that, because you got to have your instinct and you got to have your number in your model, but you also have to play the number in front of you. And like the alts that I was looking at are going to be even lower priced now than they were before because the number is moving towards those also. So that all plays into it too.
Brandon, do you have specific notes you want to get to on your series plays here on an OKC?
I mean, yeah, the last hour is the case for why I like OKC in the series. So the OKC plus 2.5, like genuinely minus 1,200. The number is about double that at most other books. So make sure you get the right book on that. The way that Indy makes you lose that bet is they either sweep the Thunder or they close out in game 5 in Oklahoma City after winning probably both games in Indy. That's one of those go ahead and take my money if you can do that sort of bets to me. So You can do worse things than get that money back less than 2 weeks from now at like what is that, about 7-8% on ROI. You can make a little money. You can bet that money you made on some other goofy long shot. So that's fun. Oklahoma City game 2 in series. Teams that win game 1 of the finals, we know, have a really, really good win rate to win the finals. That's because most of the time, the team that wins game 1 of the finals is the team at home. That's the better team. The team that wins game 1 on the road is still only 8-10 in the series. We just saw it with Celtics Warriors a few years ago. We saw it with the picture I posted on my Twitter with Allen Iverson stepping over Ty Lue and those 2001 Sixers that shocked the world and got the win. And that was it for them for the season. The Lakers 1-5. I wanted to come in here swinging and just dig in my heels all the way and go Thunder in 5. I don't think that is impossible. I just don't necessarily have a good reason to bet it, in part because, again, I think the books are still pricing that is a very real possibility. So I don't think there's enough value left there. Oklahoma City to just win game 2, right the ship, back to 1-1, and take care of business in the series. That still is where I'm at. Is they're going to win the game. They're going to win the series. It may be uglier than I was hoping, but it'll get me over the line at -200. For me, still, I don't do huge title bets, but that will be my biggest title bet of the season.
I think the separation here between yours and Sean's is interesting here, of OKC series -200 versus Thunder -1.5 games. Sean, why do you want to go ahead and bet on OKC to finish it in less than 7?
Yeah, I think this is actually a really interesting conversation. I would like Brandon's input on this as well. So I see it as, if they lose game 2, they're in dire straits, just like the New York Knicks were. So I assume they right the ship, get the W, and I'm very confident overall in the Thunder and how they've been playing ball and the matchup overall that they get it done in 6 or less games. So I'm essentially giving myself less leeway than BA, that he has the possibility of getting it done in 7. I essentially think they can get it done in 6. So I don't think it's worth the extra dollar you have to lay at -200 rather than even, because I think they're going to come out, win game 2, and then get it done. And I think the Pacers can maybe pull off one more win, regardless of if it's in Indiana or in Oklahoma City. But I think only one more win is coming out of the Indiana Pacers in this series. So that's worth me giving up the extra dollar. I'm giving up the games. The game 7 option is costing me a full dollar, and I think it's worth that price.
Yeah, for me, I looked at that bet also. Going into the series, and maybe this is just anchoring to priors that I should have moved away from. I felt going into the series, though I bet OKC in 5, I thought if it got to game 6, it probably gets to game 7, because I don't necessarily have confidence in a young team on the road where they've not been that good in the postseason in any of the series so far. They've gotten like one big road win where they had the chips on the table, but they've had some rough road losses comparatively as well. So to me, if I'm betting the -1.5, so it's OKC in 6, I think I'd almost just end up going all the way and saying back OKC in 5, so that if I got to get road wins in Indiana, I'd rather get them in game 3 and 4 rather than the closeout. And maybe that's just anchoring to a concept. But to me, I even looked at exact outcome, and I already threw away 2 exact outcomes because I had the Thunder winning in game 1, so they're dead already. That's why exact outcomes are not good to go, because you're betting parlays on 4 to 7 events. But I looked at, okay, Thunder win the rest of the home games, game 2, game 5, game 7. They lose game 6 on the road, and then they win one of those other 2. I looked at those outcomes because, to me, that's what I think the series does from here. That's the Denver series again, is win the rest of the home games. You got it figured out all right, but Denver's going to show up and push you all the way. And I feel like that's where I expect it to go. So for me, it's just, I don't want my bet to be hinged on game 6 in Indiana. I don't think they can't win that game. I just don't want to really build my angle around that.
Okay, I'll do some props. Let's go to Sean. Give me the SGA under 47.5 PRA here. This is interesting.
Yeah, SGA under 47.5 PRA is, if you want to back an over on SGA, you are going to pay the premium at every single stop. And I just believe I think if he's going over this number in game 2, the Thunder are in trouble. I don't see. I think it's just a more balanced. I think other guys get involved. They shoot it a lot better. Chet plays better. Hardenstein gets more minutes, which then it allows Case and Wallace to get back to his typical playoff flow in minutes that he's done. And by the way, this is still a spot where Shea could go for 34, 6, and 6. And we cash the
go
ticket.
under.
And it goes under. I just feel that this number's a bit too inflated. And I really think, as I mentioned earlier, this is identical to the spot in game 2 versus the Nuggets for me. I think they're going to come out guns blazing. And if you remember, if you go back even to that Cavs series, Pacers pick off game 1 and absolutely laid an egg that game 2 almost the whole way, with essentially only Donovan Mitchell playing for the Cavs on offense. They end up coming back. We know what Hallie did and knocking down that step back jumper. But it tied into that same trend that we've been talking about. Teams with home court advantage that lose game 1 almost always take care of business in game 2. I trust the Thunder to do that in this spot. I expect a big win, double digit. I think a lot of people are involved, and I think it's just too big of a number for SGA. And I like the rebounds for other guys like Isaiah Hartenstein, which we'll get into and which we talked about. I think 47.5 on a PRA for SGA is too inflated of a number. I think he can get back to his regular season averages of 33, 6 and 5, and we're still in good shape.
Brandon, if there's one thing from our kind of pre-series cap that I'm worried about, it's the SGA assist stuff, man. The Pacers, their spacing was absolutely perfect on all this stuff. They were even blitzing Shea more aggressively and still not allowing the assist opportunities. I understand the shot performance things. I haven't looked at the potentials, so maybe the potentials are like, yeah, it was just shot variance, but I am pretty shook personally about SGA's assist potential in the series.
24, 25 shots for SGA, I believe. I don't think he's going to be pushing 30 plus. They should play a few more less minutes if they take care of business as well. I think the number is just too inflated.
Yeah, potentials. So really, it wasn't even before the series that I was like so high on Shea's assists. It was more that I thought the books were way off on Halliburton's assists and that would put others into play. That read, that was my top read of the series. I still feel great about that, honestly.
Yeah, that's great. Yep.
Potential assists from game 1 was honestly bad for everybody is the answer. Halliburton did lead, but only 13. Nembhard 12, Shea 11, J-Dub 10. That's the 4. We know that's the 4 guys, but Halliburton 13 is well below his average and is not a good number. That's why I think Halliburton under 8.5 assists, I think is still worth playing, even with a little bit of juice on that one. It's not to me that I loved Shea or Nembhard's assists. If Halliburton's getting less assists, we should like Nembhard's more. Halliburton, Nembhard, and J-Dub have 6 right now. Shea only had 3, but 3 on 11. So Shea really should have had 5 or 6 himself. These guys basically should all be about tied. I think we'll like J-Dub a little less just because that's kind of the hierarchy of the 4. I think the other 3 are going to be relatively even. All things being equal, I think we would still like Halliburton to lead the series in assists slightly, but the books aren't pricing it slightly right now. I'm not adding to position, but Shea is plus 350 for assist leader. Nembhard is 30-1. I think if you haven't played yet, those are good prices, and I would encourage you to grab one or both of those names. Again, not as a Shea position, just as an anti-Halliburton assist position where it's being priced too high. So, yeah, I don't know. I am not looking to bet Shea assist game to game. Part of what I like about these series leader bets is you can use that as a better than game to game investment, as you can just kind of let the variance play out over 5, 6, 7 games and not have to worry about it one game at a time. Sean, to your pick of the Shea under 47.5, do you think so? You can take it from minus 120 to plus 112 if you just add the Thunder money line in there because it's a bit negative correlation. Do you want to do that to just boost the odds to a plus 112?
Yeah, I have no qualms on that. If you rather do that and make it the opposite correlation of SGA, essentially, I guess I'm saying he's gonna have a bad game if he goes under 47 and a half PRA. So
Well,
yeah,
the thing is, you're not like, obviously you know this. You're not saying that. Like in the blowout game, he goes under this because it's a blowout. He didn't have to go over it. Like that, we know with the Thunder, there are lots of ways for them to win without Shea putting up 45 points.
no question. Yeah, I mean, I like the Thunder to win game 2. I like them to win the series, and I like them to SGA to have some more help than he had in game 1. So yeah, I like taking it to plus 112, adding OKC on the money line.
All right, let's talk some rebounds. Sean, you start with Hartenstein, most rebounds, and then we'll go to let's do that. And then we'll go to Brandon on the over for 6.5 and 10 plus and the alts here. Give me why you want most rebounds.
I think this is flat out a coin flip. I don't understand where it would be plus 390. It's hard to decipher how many minutes he's going to get versus Chet, because those are the two. Chet's the chalk here to lead the game in rebounds at plus 140. Plus 390 for Hartenstein, who we already went over. We believe he was more impactful in his 17 minutes, where he had 9 rebounds, by the way, in 17 minutes to Chet's minutes. I think he's going to be the one that's pushing that 26, 27-minute mark in game 2. I think plus 390 is just too big of a number with everything that we've laid out about how we believe Indiana's going to miss more shots. Indiana's going to miss more shots. I think Isaiah Hartenstein's going to get more minutes, more opportunities, and he's going to be the guy that's cleaning up the glass. That's how he impacts. This is more of a mispriced play for me than anything else. I feel like this should be closer to like plus 280 than almost plus 400 at 4-1 on your money. So I'll take Isaiah Hartenstein. He's juiced. His individual rebound prop is 6.5 juiced to the over, like heavily juiced, minus 135 or 140. And Chet is, I believe, 8.5. It's just, I can't get there with the price, so I got to back Hartenstein.
Brandon, you've got over 6.5 as your best bet. You also got an alt on the 10 and 6 rebs every game at plus 450. Talk to me about iHeart.
So there's still a minus 120 on the over on the rebounds. This to me is, again, a little bit of I'm doing the thing I don't normally do here, which is I do like this, but I maybe don't love it. I'm going to take a little bit on the safer spot here. So I'll lead with that just to get at least 7 rebounds. I already bet before the series at least 6 rebounds every game for iHeart. And that was with my position of I think they're going to try to trend small and get him off the court a little bit. All right. Looks like we might be going the other direction. We already started small. He already played only 17 minutes, right? And he gets 9 rebounds anyway on 12 opportunities. He's going to rebound well when he's on the court. He's averaging 1 rebound every 3 minutes the entire playoffs. Like that, he's very easily the best rebounder in the series. So if we're wrong and they keep playing him only 18 minutes, I still feel pretty good about the over 6.5. I'm not necessarily projecting in that he's going to start with this bet or that he's going to suddenly play 30 minutes. Otherwise, I'd be smashing a couple of these. I'm kind of projecting in a maybe gradual crescendo for iHeart here, but 6 rebounds every game was 5-1 before the series. We got the hard one, I think. I think we probably got the one with his least minutes. We might get more iHeart minutes every other game, and we already got that one easily. And the line barely budged. It's plus 450 now. He's at least 5 rebounds every single playoff game, at least 6 in 14 out of 17. So the floor is basically 6. To hit the over, we only need 1 more than that. And then slight difference in my bet to Sean's. We're both looking at a higher number. I'll just do iHeart 10 rebounds at plus 320. So I lose a little bit of Sean's payout. Again, not my style usually. I like to go for the big payout. I am a little thrown just on how the whole rebounds thing are playing out here. I thought it was just Chet too. And then suddenly Nesmith has 12 rebounds on 19 chances to lead in game 1. Suddenly Tyrese Halliburton shows up, had not had double-digit rebounds the entire regular season, and then gets a double-double to blow my favorite beta ad of the last second. No double-doubles, 12-1. I'm all psyched for it. We're fading the assists, and then he has to get 10 rebounds the first game. I'm thrown off by the rebounds a little bit. I know we said Indiana probably shouldn't get as many forward, but I am not necessarily looking to invest in the leader markets. I'm watching. I don't mind that hard bet. Sean, you might want to consider iHeart just 3-1 for series rebound leader as kind of a natural escalator there. I think if you like iHeart, like we've talked about, that makes sense. I was on Siakam before the series. I feel pretty good about Siakam. 10 rebounds on 15 chances. He still is at plus 650 at one book. I may add, if anything, on series leader, that would be the one that I'd add on. I've got him from 7-1 before the series, but I think that Siakam, he still is going to have to be rebounding and out there. Matt, you were on Siakam as well. I think that's a good one to add for rebound leader, but it's a bit messy.
Okay. Turner over 1.5 turnovers, Neesmith over 1.5 turnovers. I don't feel like this needs a huge long cap. Give it to me.
No, not much here. Turner and Neesmith had 11 turnovers in game one. There's your cap. Turner is setting moving screens. Those count as turnovers. He's getting ripped by the smaller defenders in there. 6 in game one. We need 2. I'll take it at a little bit of juice. Neesmith, 5 turnovers. That's surprising. I don't think that that's like super sustainable. However, we saw a lot of Neesmith just like dribbling into Oklahoma City guys. If Neesmith's doing that, and that is like Oklahoma City wants your non-guys to be doing that stuff, 2 turnovers with Caruso and Kesa and all those guys swiping at him. That one's plus 130. So turnovers are finicky. These are probably like half unit bets, but those are low numbers considering they just had 11 combined in game one.
Okay. What else you got here to wrap up, Brandon?
I think that's mostly it. Keep an eye on the series leaders. If you haven't played yet, Shea or Nembhard assists, Siakam rebounds, I think are worth playing. I'm not looking to add too aggressively. If you like Indiana, to me, the way to bet Indiana is Pacers 3-pointers. We talked about they took almost half their shots on threes. Nembhard, Neesmith, and Toppin all got at least 6 attempts up. I think if you like Indiana, Betty, you can bet like Nembhard or Toppin, something like 12-1, 15-1 to make 4 threes. Toppin just did it. He could do it again. Nembhard could do it. Neesmith's odds are a little shorter because he gets the corner threes. But I can't recommend that bet to you today because I like Oklahoma City in the game. And I think those are very negatively correlated angles. But if you like an Indiana cover, Matt, or if you like Indiana in the series, Jim Turvey, I think betting Nembhard Toppin threes is a really good way to invest in the Pacers, but that's all I got.
All right. We'll do a parlay before we get out of here. We're going to do, I like Sean's SGA prop because that number does seem inflated. SGA under 47.5 points, rebounds, and assists. We're going to take the under 228 because this number is, I just think, way too high. I thought game 1 was too high. I think game 2 is still too high. Tyrese Halliburton under 8.5 assists. Brandon and I've talked ad nauseum about that. Still think this is a bad series for his assist opportunities. And we're going to take the money line on OKC because the most likely outcome here is that OKC comes back and wins. I am nervous about it, but I'm nervous about literally everything in this series now. So you put those 4 together, it's plus 425. That is your parlay for today. Make sure to tune in on Sunday, 6:30 Eastern time for our game 2 pregame show. We'll give you best bets going into that game with 2 more days for me to freak out about this series, as well as more calm and collected bets from guys like Gilles Gallant. We'll have our postgame show on Sunday night with Jim Turvey as well. So make sure to tune into that. Then we're back at it next week. Enjoy your weekend, guys. Enjoy game 2. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button at youtube.com/The Action Network. Give us a 5-star review. Feedback is a gift. My thanks to David Payne. My thanks to Gifford Gould. Have a great weekend. Until next time, let's get bugging.